by person, and anyway, I just think it'd be very instructive to us, because then, like in Charles' case and Kevin's space, there is things that motifs that reappear in all of our dreams. And so then it says, here's what, and when the motifs reappear over and over again, they're saying, you didn't get it last time. Let me try to go at it from a different angle. That particularly applies to recurring dreams. Hi, Dawn. We're just getting going here. I've been blathering about nothing here for a while. Well, do Roy or Gary or Dawn, do you have a dream that you'd like to discuss? Thank you, Dawn, by the way, for sharing your dreams with lots of voices. I mean, I think those would be particularly useful. I often read something or I see something and there's all kinds of words being said, and I know they're absolutely beautiful, but then later I can't remember them. But other times it's statements like some of the ones that Ivan have had, that at the end there's a statement. And then we can also see whose dream eagle or dream maker likes to speak in statements and who likes to use images. And I think, I'm not sure, it has something to do with our inferior function or something. But anyway, either Gary or Roy, I think you're up. If you don't have any, we can always go to Old Reliable here.
So go for it, Roy or Kevin.
Yeah, I think I did the last dream before you, Gary. I think you went the longest. And actually,
yeah.
Technically, you're due.
Okay.
I'm due, and I don't have any dreams.
If you don't have any dreams, it's different.
Okay, well then, Roy, if you have one.
Okay, I have one.
Yeah, all right. Well, go right ahead, and then we'll be able to go with Charles or Kevin.
I don't know how to paste it into the chat.
That's okay.
If you can email it, I can email it to you.
Yes,
and you can
you
put
can
it
email
in.
it to me.
I'll just go through it for now, and then I'll email it to you while you're working on it.
Sure.
Okay. I've been having a couple nightmares, and I've been doing a lot of work reflecting on them, working with them, trying to figure them out. And I think I had a breakthrough, and so I had a dream last night. I just had this dream last night. Okay, I'm like out in full nature, but there's really green grass that I'm walking in. So I figured maybe it's somebody's yard, but I don't see any buildings around. I'm walking over towards a corner of a yard, and there's this woman there that's resting, like she's tired. And I had this sense that something was distressed there. And I went over to that corner of the yard, and there was like a pool of water, like after a rain. It wasn't very deep, it was shallow, and I looked in there and there was a fish. And I removed the fish. It didn't struggle. It was like, it was about 3 foot long, and it looked like an Amazonian haraku. I can spell that for you, haraku. It's probably the largest freshwater fish in the world. They're in the Amazon. Anyway, I'm going to release this fish, and I could put it in a freshwater lake, or I could put it in the salt water. I decided to put it in the saltwater lagoon. I looked in there, and in the bottom of the water was a ray fish. I'm not sure if it was a skate or a stingray. It was a ray. And I put the fish in the water, and I held it in my arms so I could make sure it was breathing. And it was all right. It was breathing, and then it like swam away. And then the lady wandered off somewhere. I didn't talk to her. But where she was, there was a bunch of barbed wire all tangled up. And inside the barbed wire was a weather vane, a copper weather vane that had the 4 directions, and on top of it was a rooster. and I untangled the barbed wire, and I had this weather vane, which I liked a lot. And I woke up about that time.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go at her. I mean, this is what's kind of fun about these is, we have this, but we don't really know yet. But there's going to be something for them. I mean, I think that's happened every time, even with some of the most difficult dreams. Now, this one is not. This is a breakthrough after some nightmares that you've had.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The nightmares usually are because the inner figures are experiencing a torment they want you to feel. So that's why there's
Yes.
sort of it's a sense of urgency. So they're trying to. They felt that they can't get through to you, so they will say, "Feel my pain." Here's the pain I'm feeling. So now you're in nature, and you're in very green grass. So this is again one of it's what's unusual about it. Apparently, is that this is well manicured, right? Somewhat.
Yes.
It looks like it's been mowed
Yes.
or something. So it's and it's very green. So there's not a lot of weeds in it, and so it almost seems as if it belongs to someone, but we don't know who.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is a very usually means that it belongs to our higher self. I mean, it's very it possesses what Hildegard den Bingen called blessed greenness, which was kind of her, verdigris. There's this beautiful aspect of what green means, and it typically has to do with the sensation function, but that also can deal with the feminine. It's in itself could represent the feminine world, the blessed greenness. Of course, we have the Green Man, and who I've had many, many dreams of. But usually, the Green Man is the son of the mother. He's very related to like Merlin or something. He's a pagan. And he's you've seen all these cathedrals. I did a study on them one time. All these cathedrals that have the Green Man in them. It's really amazing. But anyway, the color green is very vivid, at the beginning of this dream, and tells us that we're in a very special place. So it's almost as if it's again, and I think this is at least the third dream that you've had that has a paradise type motif, something to do with this is a wonderful magical place. It's not, there's something about it. Okay, now there are no buildings here, so it's very far from ego consciousness, or a container for there's not any construction going on here, so it's a very virgin type of a place, or at least it's far from the more developed places. Now in a corner. Now how do you define corner? What you now, do you remember which corner it was in?
It seemed like it might have been in the northwest corner of the yard. There was a lot of water, like salt water, freshwater lake, and not a lot of land. So you could, and since it wasn't round, it had like corners. So I don't know if it was an island or a peninsula or what, but I was over kind of in the northwest corner where I went.
So it's the upper left.
Yes, upper left.
So this would kind of be the realm of the higher anima, if it was, you were to try to find you know, I mean, I'm saying it's on the left-hand side, you know, it's on the higher side. Now, do you remember what was outside of this, this four, now, if there's a corner, how many corners are there? Four?
I don't know. That part of the property kind of went into a corner because there was water on all the sides.
Okay, yeah, but at least it's,
And so you had to follow the land, and it kind of funneled you into sort of a corner. You
okay,
couldn't
but
go
do
any
you think it
further
was a
without getting
90?
wet. No, it was
a
not 90. It was
Okay.
not 90. It was
Well, then.
ragged. It was sort of
Okay,
a point, but not a square
all
point.
right, well, I'm gonna stop that route then. Okay, but what was on the other side? What was defining the corner? Do you
Water.
remember?
Water.
Water. So what was defining the corner was salt water or fresh water?
It was a division somewhere in the land that separated the salt water from the fresh water.
Yeah, so it was kind of a peninsula.
Kind
type
of a
thing.
peninsula.
Yeah,
You know, it was at sea level, and it's where land and water met the sea, but it was like an estuary type saltwater area where it
But-
met land and fresh water.
yeah, but what's interesting about it too is this is not a sandy peninsula. It's
No.
a very green peninsula. So
You'll
it's
see a
very
lot
rich
of that
and
over
lush.
on the west coast of Florida. If you get down below Fort Myers, I've been over there, you'll see a lot. People will be growing fruit trees and all kind of stuff. And then at the edge of their land will be an estuary, salt water.
Well, like the Everglades, you know, it's near.
The Everglades has the same thing. It
Yeah.
You have saltwater parts of the Everglades where there's mangroves, and then
Very
they
lush.
blend in together.
Some
Very
areas.
lush, very lush.
Yeah. Okay, now so in this corner is a very tired feminine figure.
Mhm.
So she is apparently, and you're thinking that she looks like she's worn down by some kind of trauma or stress.
Yes.
Yes. So she's evidently put up with something. Usually, what that means is she's put up with our neglect. You
Yeah.
know, you know.
Yeah.
So she's worn down, and usually that means because we haven't been giving her enough attention. That's what makes her lethargic, makes her sink down into the depths, and you know, where she complains she's dark, and she lightens when we give her attention.
Well, I was going over there to fix that, which
Yes,
knights
you-
do. You know, the lady in distress.
Yes.
I was going over there to fix that.
yes, you are, the dream ego approaches the feminine and shows compassion for her, and notices that she is in somewhat of a stress. So now within the green field, you find almost like the pool of water that Jung saw with the radiolarian in it. You know, so it's a pool of water, and in the water is a life force that's too confined. You know, it's in too small of a space. It needs to be taken out and taken to the greater space where it can operate more like it should. So, in other words, this unconscious living thing within us is not being given enough. You remember that imagination comes from the word magnify. So it means to expand consciousness. So if it's in the way that you can make the pool bigger, or make the place of this unconscious living thing within us be more expansive, is to do just what you did. Pick it up very carefully. Now, it's surrounded by the unconscious. It's the feminine is nearby. the anima, the soul is nearby. It is it's kind of it's a stunning image. You know, I mean, here's this the largest freshwater fish in the Amazon, 3 feet long, is in a somewhat of a puddle. You know, so it's in distress too. She's in distress perhaps because of the fish to some extent. You know, but they're anyway. Both of them are under stress. The fish is under stress, and so is she, and they are cornered. They're at the very edge uh, of 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 land-based greenness. So you know, they're kind of cornered. You know, they're pushed into a very extreme part of this place. Okay, then you take this 3 foot long fish, and could you tell us the spell that the name of it again?
Okay. Okay. Let's see. It's Portuguese. I think that the language is it's Piraucu, pronounced
Okay.
Pararaku. Pararaku.
All right. Well, let's why don't we take a look at it real quick? Okay. Let's see. Hey, that's going to be Pier
It's
Aruku.
Piraucu.
Prirarucu. God.
It's hard.
My
to spell.
well, no, my fingers are.
Right.
I'm doing a no look.
Yeah, I
No
think it's
look
the
type.
largest freshwater fish in the world.
Yeah, it's a beautiful fish too. It is a somewhat. It looks very. Let me just put this up. Let's see if I can get it up. Yeah, they are huge. I mean, here's another image of it. This is. I mean, they can be unbelievably large. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can get this on here. This is. This really doesn't show us what it looks like, but there we go. Okay. This is not going to show us what it looks like, but it just kind of shows us what the. I mean, that's probably 200-300 pound fish, but
Yeah,
look at it. Its lack of dorsal fins.
Yes, it's
No,
very primal.
Serpentine. Yeah, it's rather
Yes.
serpentine.
Yes.
It doesn't have a real developed. Let me see if I can find
No,
it.
it's
I just
serpentine.
Yes, it has a serpentine aspect. Okay, just a second here. Let me see if I can just get one little look at it here quick. Let's see if we can get it over here. Okay. Let's see. Well, let's see. Damn it. Let me see if I can get this thing going here. All right, there we go. Edit. Edit and Picasa. Okay, not now. Okay, now let's see if I can get the other one. Yeah, here's the other one. Okay. So we're going to do, let's see if I can show this one. This is just to kind of give us some idea of what this creature, a little more of the nature of the creature. Okay. All right, here it is. Okay. Now it does have, it doesn't have the frontal dorsal fin. It has a very small head and a very large body. Look at its side fins. I mean, it's like it's just this far from a snake.
Yeah,
or an
very
eel.
serpentine.
Yeah, it looks like an eel almost.
Like an eel almost.
Yes, right. Okay.
Only it has lots of scales.
Yeah. Yes, lots of scales, and its scales, yes, are you can see what the pattern of the scales is, almost a diamond. You know, something like a diamond. And then the red at the back. But anyway, what I would say about the fish, it is a primordial fish, so it's very close to uh, sort of a, it's very close to the unconscious. It's not has not been shaped by ego. I mean, at all. You know, it's totally is a non-ego type fish. Okay, it's not a dachshund or
No,
a yeah or a Siamese kitty. You know,
catfish.
no, yeah, there you go. So now, then we pick this thing up very carefully, and we walk to, and we're not sure whether it's fresh water or salt water, and we think it needs to be in salt water.
I knew it
So
was fresh water, and I thought about it in the dream, and something told me no, it should be in the salt water. I know it didn't make any sense rationally, but in a dream, you don't have to be rational.
no, but what I would say about the difference between an ocean and a river is the ocean is vast.
Yeah, I was fast.
Yes, and where the river or the lake or the pond are more they're either something that flows or they are not um, vast, unending. There's nothing. They do have ends.
They're very limited, the freshwater
Yes.
bodies.
They're not unending. Okay. So anyway, in the at the bottom of this lagoon, which is leading out to the vastness of the ocean, you know, it's the edge of it, is a ray, and you're not sure whether it's a manta ray or what was the other ray that you mentioned?
No, it was a stingrays and skates
oh,
are smaller rays.
yes.
And I wasn't sure if it was a skate or a smaller ray because I couldn't see the tail very well. I think it could have been a stingray.
Yeah. Well, again, that would kind of almost represent it's it is a very primordial
Yeah,
fish.
very primordial.
Yeah, one that we don't typically eat. You know, I mean, there's something about it that's very, very, very wild. You know, and so is the picaru or whatever. How do you pronounce that?
Haraku.
Hiraku. Yeah, is also very wild. So this is a very this is a very primordial part of the unconscious, which, like the anima, is in stress and needs the help of the dream ego. Okay. So, I mean, that's just the going hypothesis that we can discuss. Okay. And then, so we take it, we put the fish in there and we tend to it. We make sure that it is going to be able to use its gills to get pneuma, you know, to get oxygen. So before we release it, we want to make sure, you know, so often, you know, if you don't do that, the fish turns upside down or on its side, and then, you know, it flips a little bit, but that's not, it can't use both gills and it can't right itself either. So that is something almost like a turtle that you need to, a turtle that's upside down. You need to make sure the fish is operating with its in its proper orientation before you let it go. Okay, or otherwise it's not going to make it. You know. So then the lady has wandered off. Yet she's leading you somewhere. So you follow her. And where does she take you? She takes you to a something that is surrounded by barbed wire. So it has it's fenced off from consciousness. Okay, there's an aspect that it is not accessible to consciousness. It's very fenced off from it with a very prickly fence, you know, Now, somehow we make an opening in the fence, and there we find the metal of Venus, copper, quaternity. Now, there is a rooster at the top, which would tend to represent um, the would represent the conjunctio, you know. So you got a quaternity of copper that the feminine led us to. It's fenced off from the ego, and on top is, you know, this is just something that, as a puer aeternus, I've missed my whole life. Is and I'm appreciating so much now, not in a sexual way, but in just the way of the feminine polarity, how different it is from the way my psyche is organized, and how it seems so miraculous to me because it's so different. You know, it speaks from a different center, which you know is since I lack it, I need it. You know, and so there's this idea the feminine polarity is something that as a man we lack. A woman typically, I don't know, not in all cases nowadays, I mean, with the but she might be lacking the masculine polarity. So anyway, the copper, the anima leads us there, either unintentionally or intentionally, and there we find the orienting points. You know what Jung said about the functions is as the cardinal points orient us in the outer world, so do the four functions orient us in psyche. You know, so they operate as orienting cardinal points. You know, and that's why you always see four. And of course, four is a feminine number. Three is a masculine number, and it's more concerned with perfection and not with completeness. You know. So anyway, that's the first stab at this baby. How about Garrett? Let's hear from everybody and see if you can add a little bit of what the blind man trying to describe the elephant can find out here.
Well, I don't know. I'm really impressed with what you've done so far. But I mean, to me, this dream is incredibly successful because, you know, first off, he's in an area which is very well taken care of. You know, I mean, the manicured grass, and then, you know, there's the anima which almost like guides him to the whole problem, which is this fish, which, you know, needs needs a larger area. You know, it's not in a big enough area for its growth for what it is now. And so then, you know, when he successfully transplants it to, you know, the deeper unconscious where it now has, you know, room to become what it needs to become, she then leads to, you know, to this quaternity. And so, and you said that was a weather vane, so it actually had, you know, it actually had like a direction it was pointing. And if it, you know, it would be interesting to try to figure out. So, you know, if it's actually saying, you know, indicating which inferior function, you know, that would be like, okay, this is the one that, you know, needs work to continue or whatever. But wow, your analysis, Craig, was just like so complete. You know, I hardly know what to add.
Well, I like the word you add. It's going to a deeper place. You know, when you take it. See, that's the other aspect that even the ocean is more vast. It's also more deep. You know, than a river or any fresh water, any body of fresh water. You know, so anyway, yeah, that's very good. What do you think, Kevin? Have you? I'm sure you've been thinking. I
Yeah.
can see you ruminating.
Yeah, I don't have much to say. I was more interested in the water. Was it both fresh and salt?
Well, I don't know if you've been into an estuary. You have like the ocean, and then you have like what do they call it? You go across the causeway, and it's kind of an estuary, and then you have the land where there's forest and fresh water. I mean, that's how these outer islands are. I don't know if you've
Was
experienced that. And that was like,
was
I was on the inside part where the forest is, meets the estuary. And then there was a lake in the forest part that was very close to the estuary. So I could make a choice of which one I wanted to put the fish in very easily.
okay, but was there a meeting between fresh and salt in the same area?
Yes, I wasn't at the exact spot where they met, but yes, there was an opening from the fresh water to the estuary where they could meet and exchange water.
Yeah, but for me, I get this image of it's the meeting point between the elementary aspect of the male and masculine, yin and yang, because you're quite deep into your unconscious. And so what I see, or I might be wrong, but I feel like that's a meeting place between two elementary energy pool. And I was wondering, when you put the fish down into the freshwater,
Saltwater. It was like a saltwater lagoon. Yeah.
you knew it was a freshwater fish.
Yes, I did. When I
And
was
you
dreaming,
didn't-
passed out, I knew that.
Can it go either way?
Well,
Like a salmon
the
or
bizarre
a-
thing is, you hear me talk about my pasture, and I have a moat there, and it's freshwater, and I have a dolphin living in it. And some whales came and visited the dolphin once. So the unconscious doesn't care about that. If you're a freshwater fish, it doesn't care. It's just water. At least fish stay in the water, thank God, in the unconscious, usually.
Yeah, I was thinking if you put it on salt water, that could be a symbol of putting it into the more feminine aspect, whereas the freshwater would be more the masculine. In alchemy, salt water is associated with the feminine, also with wisdom. So it's put back into the feminine aspect of the separation between king and queen at the most elementary level.
Salt is a feminine, that's the alchemical symbol for the woman, and the man is sulfur. So anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I have. Yeah, I think it would be more interesting to actually find out what the fish are before. But yeah, that's all I have for now.
Well, we'll go on to Charles, but I just thought I'd mention one thing too that's amazing about Roy's dreams is how long have you lived in Florida, Roy?
Oh, God.
You lived in Virginia first.
Almost
right?
40 years.
Yeah. But how close your psyche is interacting with this amazing ecosphere of the mangroves, the gardens, the plants of the tropical area, the fishes, the dolphins. It's just it's very beautiful. I like, and I think it's unusual and also intriguing. Okay, Charles, do you have any comments on this?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I kind of see the fish as like this kind of archetypal primordial energy or force that is, typically in the unconscious that has seemed to come up onto land kind of, because it's in this rather shallow pond, you said, Roy?
Like a puddle
Okay.
after a rain.
Okay. So it's almost something like this archetypal primordial figure that is up out of the depths, where consciousness and light can see it, and that apparently, it was needed for a time, and when this dream occurred, it was almost like time to like put it back to its home where it came from. And it reminds me of the shoebill stork. That seemed like a really ancient archetypal kind of primordial force and it makes you think of like, it's extinct, right? The shoebill stork, or
No, it's
It
in
looks
Africa.
like it should be.
oh, okay, right.
They exist. They're on the endangered list, but
Okay.
there's plenty of them there.
Okay. Still, it's like a really rare, uncommon bird that, like Craig said, it looks like it would be extinct. It looks prehistoric, and so it seems like, this is just my guessing, but this this kind of primordial ancient archetype has surfaced in your life for a reason, and this dream indicates that it's being put back to its home, and that possibly it was an exhausting endeavor for the anima. Maybe the anima was involved in kind of fishing this thing up from the depths for you. And I thought it was really interesting that the weather vane was surrounded by barbed wire. It seems like the weather vane. And then I kind of forgot what a weather vane was, and I looked at the image on Google, and it seems like, it's a very, in that dream, it's a very kind of holy, sacred symbol of really like, it's like a 3D mandala, and it's it's sacred. It's to be protected. It's for the people that want to go on the search for the Holy Grail. It's there for them. It's not for just anyone. You can't just bump into it. It's protected by barbed wire. You have to seek it out with the help of the soul. So that's what I'd say.
Yeah, it's hi, Ivan. It's an orienting device that points that is aligned with spirit. In other words, it's going to show us which direction, how to orient ourselves with Numa, or that spirit. Now, Ivan, I put the dream in the chat again if you have any comments about it. And Dawn, of course, you're always encouraged and welcome to add anything. But it's, also it's you can just listen. And I think at some point you'll always, I would say, when you're just starting out with these dreams, I mean, the way that we can add input is, how would we feel if we had this dream? So we're not really experienced in amplifying dreams, but these are all startling images. And do we feel anything inside of us if we were to have this dream? I mean, how would we react? That's very helpful, by the way. So anyway, unless Roy, do you have any comments? And I might summarize it.
Well,
I'll try a stab at it.
This weather vane that was tangled in the ball of barbed wire, I didn't follow the woman. I was working with the fish, and when I came back, she was gone, and this tangled barbed wire was there that I untangled and got the weather vane. And to me, the weather vane represented a transcendent function. It was something that she gave me for doing this task that I can use to solve a lot of problems. And I would never have thought of it. You know, if I hadn't remembered this dream and 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 be given that, I wouldn't have known how to use this thing or what significance it has in my life.
And it's not accessible to us until we remove the entangling uh, uh, fence, the almost a killing, like, you know, we were talking about science being so far from the image. Barbed wire is a symbol to me of far from the images, very much in the in a world of dry stones. You know, I mean, it's not a nice white fence at a horse barn, or beautiful stone fence with ivy growing on it. It's something that's very shaped by ego to you know is it's just something that we find in imprisonment and you know, I mean, it's and it's made out of, now it is made of metal, but it's there's the idea of the barbs there. But anyway, I'd like to I'm just going to try to summarize this, and then I'd like everybody to speak as if this was your own dream. Just what emotions are pulsing through you, you know, as you hear the words of the dream, and or say we had it, and we had some, and remember two things we're supposed to do as the mediator between this dream and the outer world is to add a nonverbal aspect, which would be we are the medium of expression of the images of the unconscious, and that's our nonverbal concretization of it in the outer world. The images long for the light; they long to be concrete in the outer world. If we can take them and make them real in the outer world, they'll never go away. And every time we see that picture with the color on it, we know that we have taken something from the center and brought it close to us, you know, and we feel it, energy that has been added to it from us acting as a medium of expression of it, you know, and then the clarifying aspect, and then the fact that at the end, it is, if it really does do the transcendent function, which is the third thing, you know, that bridges the inner world and the outer world, connects them. It's the connecting link. Transcendent function means to bridge the gap. Almost the quantum. It's almost a quantum leap, you know, where in quantum physics things don't move linearly. They suddenly just appear somewhere else. You know, they were here, now they're there, but there's no sign of how they got there. They're just there. They move from here to there without any movement. You know, I mean, so that's kind of what the transcendent function is supposed to do, because the only way, you know, that's kind of a good description. You know, that and black holes are kind of a good description of what we're working with here. You know, I mean, the black hole is the place where there's no opposites, you know, and everything is just, there's no time. It has an event horizon, and until you get past the event horizon, nothing happens, you know, and that's when the images, when the polarities have developed, you know. So anyway, let's just go through here real quick. This was a dream following some nightmares, some expressions of the unconscious and of the inner daimons of that they are feeling torment because of either our lack of understanding of them or our lack of attention. You know, they're experiencing some kind of torment, and they're trying to get us to feel it, you know, and to create a sense of urgency. But often nightmares are so inexplicable and so non-ego oriented. Usually they're threatening ego some way, you know, and they're threatening ego, saying, you know, this thing you're using all the time is going to get us, me, and that 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 part of you that is neti, you know, has no qualities, yet it's our awareness. You know, we're not, we see through our eyes, but we're not our eyes. So that thing that's behind it, we speak with our voice, but we're not our voice. We hear with our ears, but not our ear. That awareness, that neti awareness, which it needs to stop being so willful. It needs to become a mediator. So that's typically what nightmares, the function of nightmares are, and they tend to be very disoriented and almost punishing. You know, there's an aspect of punishment in there. But anyway, so after those, somewhat of a breakthrough, and it does seem like a very mild and gentle return to something that is has a wonderful healing quality, as I think Roy mentioned himself. So anyway, he's walking through a very green landscape, almost a manicured landscape. We're not sure who owns it, but we think somebody owns it. So it usually that's a sign that it belongs to the higher self, the higher part of us, you know, that we're to be in service to. And it's also green, so it tends to represent the blessed greenness of rooted things. You know, things become green because of photosynthesis. You know, of the solar world combining with the rooted world creates greenness. You know, which is chlorophyll, we can call it, but it's actually the conjunctio between the sun and the earth creates greenness. You know, so anyway, we're walking through here. We're not sure who owns it. That means it's kind of a magical owner, you know, an unknown owner. So you know, the unknown owner is usually going to be the inferior function, you know. So then there's no buildings there. So there's no, it's far, ego's way is far removed from here, you know, and it's on the edge. It's kind of a peninsula that's going out into the vastness of the ocean. The salt, it doesn't have to be emphasized, but the salt would mean that it has something to do with the feminine polarity in alchemy, anyway. You know, sulfur would be the masculine. You know, mercury would be the uniter between the two. You know, and so it's in a corner, and at the very edge of the unconscious, and this product of the rooted world and the spiritual or solar world, we find a feminine figure there who is tired and worn. And she's not only tired and worn, but she's standing by a pool, a very limited pool, where there is a very primordial form of life who she seems to be looking after to some extent. It doesn't say that in the dream, but I'm implying that she's waiting for someone to come and provide aid. And maybe that's why she's so tired and worn. So anyway, dream ego has both approached what could be either the neglected feminine or the feminine that has become very weary because it's been so long waiting for the rescuer of this magical fish, this primordial magical fish. She's worn out because she was so tired from waiting for the rescuer of it. Well, a rescuer does come, you know, and they lift it out of this very limited place where it can't possibly thrive, and they take it out into the greater expanded realm of images where it can thrive. And then it has the choice of, do I put it in the vastness of ocean, or do I put it in the more the closer and more contained and more bound world of the freshwater bodies? No, I'm going to take it out to the edge of vastness, the edge of infinity, you know. And so then it's a very large fish, and so it's you know, it has a very large, anything, you know, has the idea of substance, you know, and that's what the images provide, is substance. The dreams provide substance. We provide clarity. You know, the dreams provide substance. What we lack is substance. What the dream images lack is clarity. So we provide the clarity because we lack substance, and the dream provides a substance because it lacks clarity. So it's sort of the and the substance, of course, you know, is the non-verbal expression of an image, and then the clarity is the verbal expression of that connects the two. So anyway, so we get this fish and we rescue it, and we take it out into a we've decided the salt water is the best, so which is would tend to represent the vastness. I mean, we could say we really have to distinguish you know, you can also differentiate them by, this is a inland body of water, and this is not an inland body of water. So you can also look at it that way. You can name it as salt water and freshwater, but the freshwater is going to be inland water, you know, and the salt water is going to be water that is not inland. It is what would be the word for not being inland? Do you guys know? I'm sure there is a word, but anyway. So then, as we make sure that it's going to acclimate itself to this vastness before we let it go. So now we're letting it go. This is a part of ourselves, really, and it's going to thrive in this world. So now, even though it's going to be a little bit far away from us, it's one of our inner daimons, and it's going to thrive more here than it would in the pool, you know, in the puddle. And we look, and yes, there's other creatures here. So this is a good place, you know. But they're also very primordial. Now let's contrast the shoebill stork with this animal. Again, the dream maker is making the choice, not us. Now, what's the difference between the shoebill stork and this creature? Does anybody have any comments on that aspect of it? Roy, what do you think? If you had to contrast the shoebill stork with the fish, what would you think?
Well, the fish was in distress, but the shoebill stork, as far as I could tell, wasn't under distress at all.
No, that's one aspect.
Primal, but that was definitely a difference.
Yes, that's one aspect of it that I was thinking about too, is that the shoebill stork was a divine being totally in charge of the uncultivated field, you know, which is waiting for seed. And it also is a somewhat of a something in charge, because it comes and judges us because of our to domestic instinct. This is the shoebill stork is definitely not a domestic instinct at all. It's as far removed as it can be, and yet it also like an eagle or a dove or the woodpeckers or a diving bird or a duck bird has a particular quality of spirit. You know, they all represent something of spirit, but this is where the woodpeckers would be the spirits of the rooted things. I think the shoebill stork is the spirit of primordial unconscious, the water features of a primordial world, far removed from the conscious mind. Africa, you know, I mean the darkness of Africa, you know, the fact that it's far from consciousness. But it's just an interesting contrast by the dream maker to pick these two species. Now, the one, this one that lives in the depths, where the other one lives in the is sort of a mercurial figure that stands in the water and yet it can fly, and it can also. I don't know how often you'd see it on land, possibly sometimes. I'm sure it nests on land, you know. But anyway, it's just an interesting contrast. The choices are absolutely unexpected and of a consciousness that we can only say is a genius, you know, an absolute genius. And this is kind of what I was thinking, Roy, of how it picks these images that are somewhat related to the landscape, which you have seemed to be has seemed to grab you a little bit. You know, I think the Florida nature has somewhat. I mean, you're working with plants, you're working with land in Florida. I think there's an aspect, an unspoken aspect of you that is part of your development, part of your growth has to do symbolically in the inner world with what you do in the outer world, you know, and in Florida, you know, in that area. I think there's a magical relationship between you and the landscape of the Florida, which is so unusual compared to the rest of North America, don't you think? I don't think there's many comparable landscapes to Florida. I mean, I haven't seen any, you know. I mean, Hilton Head or South Padre or something. They're just not the same. You know, there's something different about them. I mean, the fact that it is, even though there's so many people living there, I mean, you've got the Florida deer, you've got the Florida mountain lion, you've got, I mean, there's a richness of fauna. There's a rich, absolute, I mean, my father's an ornithologist. It is almost like Costa Rica with its bird population. And then, and also lots of reptilian life, a very rich fish life too, and sea life, mantas. Where do you find mantas other than Florida? I mean, it's this sort of a, you know, it's a really, anyway. I just am saying the shoebill stork and the this fish are genius choices. Okay, then so we released the fish. Now, the anima that was worn out seems to think her task is completed, and she starts to wander off. Yet she wanders off close to something that's fenced off, and it's something that fascinates the dream ego. And what it is it's a weather vane, you know, made of copper, so it's very close to Aphrodite and close to Venus. You know, at least that would be what we associate with that planet. And it is as the functions, as the cardinal points in the outer world are the orienting in the outer world, the 4 points. You know, like in every verb in the Aboriginal languages, they don't just tell you what direction you're going. I mean, they don't just tell you you're going somewhere. They say which direction and how far. You know, I mean, since Australia has this sort of a inability to orient yourself because there's not a lot of trees or landmarks. You know, so the Aboriginals' language, it tells you, I'm going somewhere, but they'll use "I'm going somewhere," meaning I'm going northeast. I'm going 5 miles out. I mean, I'm going a long distance or I'm going a short distance. Anyway, there's the object of this orientation in the outer world, and the orientation in the inner world. So there's as above, so below. The 4 functions are a weather vane, and they point in the direction that the libido is flowing, and the libido would be in the direction of the unconscious function, where the weather vane is going to represent pneuma. The inner functions are going to be pointing in the direction of the inferior function. The libido flows that way. I mean, the inner libido. Now on top of it, it has a rooster, which is going to represent the east and dawn consciousness. So it's going to represent the new thing. There's an aspect of the why does Gabriel blow its horn? The angel Gabriel, to awaken the dead within us. It's not awakening dead out in the outer world. It's awakening the dead part of us. Wake up, become alive, lend your attention to the unconscious. That's kind of the aspect of the crowing of the rooster too, is awaken, wake up, So anyway, we want to take this home, and the only way we can take it home is to disentangle this ego, which fences it in. It can't be fenced in by ego. It needs to be, we need to remove those ego elements before it can become operative in us. Why? Because it represents the 4 functions, which have nothing to do with ego. It has more to do with actual, with consciousness. I mean, Jung said that there was that consciousness emerged in the universe when the 4 functions differentiated. Up until that time, it was not possible to have this Archimedean point that looked back on itself, or to be the mirror in which nature sees, or the universe, as Alan Watts says, can behold itself. Well, anyway, I do not have a conclusion yet, but I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'm going to try to do that tonight and tomorrow. But could we hear everybody just give us you had this dream. What would you, can you just say a few things? I had this dream. How do you feel? Why don't you start, Gary?
Well, we know that he went through a series of nightmares before this. So I think that's important. And then we have this exhausted, haggard anima that's, labored deeply in the reflective function to bring this out of the deep and put it in a shallow pond where he can actually use his sensate functions on it and, kind of understand it and restore it to life. And then, once he has actually held it and understood it, he returns it to the deep where he'll never see it again. But in doing so, he has gained this great new gift or ability that is, had to be disentangled, but is now available to him. So
Yeah, yeah. We keep in mind I think there's four parts of it. The finding the anima in the north, finding the greenness near the consciousness, finding the anima in the upper left-hand corner of this greenness, very near the limits of land, the puddle where this great being, like the Radiolarian that Jung saw, this magnificent, almost like jellyfish that he saw and which astounded the ego, just like the shoebill stork does. I mean, I like I told you guys, I'd like to almost make that my wallpaper on my computer. It's the gaze of that is so riveting. And then you have the rescuer. The dream ego is the rescuer, not only of the directly of this wonderful being, Radiolarian type animal, letting it thrive, but then he then releases the anima from her wornness. She leads us to the orienting mandala of the psychic world, which we are only have availability once we disentangle this horrible barbed wire, this horrible, so far removed from the naturalness of psyche. It's a total conscious aberration, of a horrible, nightmarish type aberration. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, I got so much feeling when he said he was gonna untangle the barbed wire. It was just, for me, my feeling side was I just felt that something was entangling, a very spiky entangling. But what I think is that this is very close to someone's body. This is pretty much at the bodily level and the neurological level. Considering, I would think, the fish is a chthonic animal along with the snake. So I feel like this is more, at our lowest level part of our brain, to simplify. And now it's perhaps getting some rest. The fish is being put back to where it belongs. And I also think that the anima here is a symbol of life force. Often the animal is a symbol, often female, can be a symbol of soul, but many times just an aspect of our feminine self. And in this case, I feel like this is a symbol of life force. And so, yeah, I would say we have an image of life force and rain. That could be something that has been, along with the wall and so on. Something is sad, and this fish is being put into small of a cage, and now it's being put back. And so I feel like there would be a sense of rejuvenation of the body, and the behavior you associate with this animal. You perhaps don't even have association. I would do a Wikipedia on the animal, because it's an animal aspect of ourself, and it's been put back.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Charles, we'll start with you next time. But I was going to mention too, Ivan, if you ever can type up that dream, I can go back and listen. But I would like to review your dream, because I don't think we did a very good job of finishing in that one. But if you're going to be here Wednesday, any of you, we'll start out with Charles. And of course, Gary, anytime you have a dream, you're eligible. And Dawn, anytime you have a dream, you're automatically top of the list. So Charles, what do you think?
Taking the stance, like if it was my dream, I would be, more than anything, if it was my dream, be so surprised at the difference between that dream and my other like anima dreams or encounters with my anima. I think that would be yeah, I would just be so surprised by this dream, and I would think to myself, man, I something that I was not conscious of, something that I was doing that I wasn't unconscious of, or something must have been happening correctly, or it must have been going in the right direction in some way or some form without noticing it, because I do feel like it is a rewarding dream. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, Ivan, I was going to tell you one thing that we might want to do, and maybe Gary can help us on this, is I'd like to get a doc, one of those Google Docs, and have everybody's dream in there. We'll try to put them in order of person and kind of order of date we discussed it with some amplification. But I think the idea is if we have a series of 5 or 6 dreams for each of us, it's going to tell a story. But Ivan, do you have any comments on this one?
Yeah. So if this was my dream, I would have for me, it would represent finding my way, and that there is something blocking me from finding my way. First, there's this big fish in a puddle, a small pond, if you will, and it's distressed and it's stuck and it needs something to take it. And at first it's going to take it to fresh water, but the fresh water, to me, fresh water would represent something smaller, a river, a stream, a lake, something like that. And you decide instead to take it to someplace more open, as you mentioned already. And then there's this weather vane that has barbed wire wrapped around it, which to me, I agree with what you said about the weather vane, but it's also for me, right? The weather vane tells you which way the wind's blowing. And if the weather vane is blocked, you don't know which way the wind's blowing. And so to me, there's multiple signs in here of something blocking from finding a way, if you will, from either knowing which way the wind is blowing or from getting to where you need to be.
Yeah. Okay. And Kevin, thank you for putting that dream in there. We'll start out with Charles' dream next time, and then Kevin's dream, and then also I'd like to just I can actually, Ivan, I think I can go to the dream and just write it down myself, but I just like to sort of have a summary of it and quickly discuss it. Oh,
I have them right here. I just need to type them out.
Yeah, if you could, because that was such a great dream. I want to just mention that, I don't know about you guys, but like I could name 3 or 4 dreams of each one of us here that's just stunning. It's absolutely stunning. Roy, do you have any concluding remarks about it that resonate with you?
Yeah, I have a little more depth on it because it resolved 2 nightmares that I had before that. And we don't have time to go into those, but it was such a surprise to me. It was just such a relief to have that resolution, from the unconscious. That's like a gift. You can't buy that or force that. It comes or it doesn't. So, everybody interpreted it pretty good. I might have a little more on it, because I have the other dreams to put with it.
In itself, stand alone, it's incredible. Kevin, did you want to maybe just in the last few minutes just read your dream, and then we'll start with Charles, and then we'll go do a little bit on Gary's, and then we'll start with we'll finish with yours next time. And Gary,
Yeah.
Of course, you're available anytime you get a dream. But go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I was in this place, and my neighbor is this female girl, and I see that I can see her room, I can see her place, and I can see there is a red slipper there. So I feel like some probably has been at her place, probably a guy. And I also, after that scene, I see her taking pictures for a magazine or something. It wasn't any revealing picture. It was just, I don't know for what. She was just taking pictures. And there was also the third scene in which I think she met a friend of mine. They are both friends of mine. She met another friend of mine, and I didn't know what they talked about. And I think the fourth scene, which I think is more interesting, is that I wake up in the same apartment, and we were now many people. We were taking in this place a black cube, like inside this place, no furniture. It was totally black inside, and it was like, yeah, not shiny, yeah, it's kind of shiny tiles, like the whole thingy. And I was like, oh, this is a nice place, and this guy tells me, like, go to the wall, and I also feel like perhaps it's something dodgy here. There is no furniture, and we are like inside this place, no doors. And I was like, yeah. So I went to the wall, and what happens is that the wall, like a glitches from a matrix. It starts to like that, and it goes back every time I go close to it. So I realized there's something wrong, and probably something is not right. So I was thinking we need to get out from this place. And so I was thinking I can perhaps look at the ceiling. And so this guy helps me out. And so I find an opening, and I open, and I see this place is just a laboratory, a white place of laboratory full of like microscope or like equipment. And perhaps even a guy with like a suit on, like lab suit on. And now I feel like they're on to us. And so I go down again, and this cube opens a door, which the laboratory guys, many of them comes in. And so, yeah, so all of us like went towards that opening because it was the only opening we had. So we had to go and fight them and to get out. I wake up.
Okay, great. Well, that's that'll get us started next time. Definitely.
Right.
Yeah. Do you, Charles? Do you want to? Do you have a dream? Maybe you could just fill in the last few minutes and tell us what one you'd like to discuss on Wednesday.
Well, I want to get back to the ET dreams, and I'm not exactly sure which one is coming next, but I know coming up shortly will be the dream with the cave wall carving drawing that I did. That one will be coming up soon. And then another will be coming up soon, I think right after that, of where I was at a house at the bottom of the ocean, and there's kind of a party going on, and someone comes, and I guess I'm with my shadow. I'm with an unknown man, and who I guess we went there together. And this girl comes up to me, and she's like, "Oh, there's going to be someone coming soon, and you might be able to see them because she's a ghost." And apparently, in my dreams, I can detect ghosts. That's a common theme. And she does appear, but she's actually on the outside of the house, looking in through the window, and it's a very young, sickly-looking ghost girl. She seems really nice and friendly, and I wave to her and say hello. And actually, I like wave, give her a peace sign and a thumbs up, and she like waves back and is very friendly. And then a ghost shark comes up, and he seems like a very nice, happy shark, and they seem to be friends, and just have this very kind of positive, friendly moment of greeting them through the window of the house. And then all of a sudden, some absolutely monstrous, gigantic sea creature starts to ram into the house, and everyone there just starts freaking out and panicking. And then I wake up.
Yeah, well, that seems almost like that ET figure. You know, the fact that it's threatening ego, you know, a little bit. But you know, I just think it's very interesting, the thematic motifs of each one of our dreams. I mean, Roy's, I'm getting a flavor for it. Gary's definitely has a flavor. You know, you know, Gary, yours has a lot of feminine elements in it usually, and Charles, some somebody in the unconscious thinks a lot of you. I mean, I mean, the dreams that you're having, regardless of any other difficulties that you're having, are have a you know there's an aspect of it that seems not to have traction, but there's another aspect of it that is absolutely transforming and beautiful, you know, and the richness of it is just incredible. And Ivan, your dreams are so profound. I mean, like I say, uh, you must be an old soul or something. I don't know what it is, but there's an aspect of the old soul in your dream, and actually a very mature. I mean, and the dreams tend to be very mature. They do have a theme too. Usually, there's a unknown figure in the dreams, or some missing person, or whatever, you know. And very similar to me too. Every dream I have is in a messy place, some messy place or disorderly place, you know, who we don't really know who's the owner is, you know. Now, Kevin, your dreams, they have a you know, the caves and the there's an aspect of an adventure with the feminine that you know, seems like, well, we'll talk about it more later, but I'd like to hear your take too. But if Gary, if you can get a Google Docs going, I think it'll be less hit or miss on describing these motifs, because we'll be able to say, now remember this stream and remember this stream. You know, in fact, if you guys have any dreams that you know we've discussed that you have some text to, maybe you can send it to us, and we'll put it in the Google Doc. So anyway, we'll reconvene next Wednesday, and I want to thank you, Roy. You don't ever disappoint. I mean, the aspect of that is so fascinating in there is, didn't you have another dream about a very ancient species? Isn't this the third one? I don't remember, but I thought there was another one about with an ancient creature in it. Anyway, and Dawn, we you know, like James Hillman said, that even a rock in the river causes the other people to flow around it. So we appreciate you, and at some point, feel free when you feel more comfortable to bring a dream, you know, and discuss it. But I think one thing that I found is the fact that a lot of people don't get is usually 99% of the time these dreams are objective. You know, in other words, it's the ego, this neti place, that's relating to non-ego, which is has a transpersonal quality. You know, where everybody thinks that 99% of the time it has to do with you know, who's mad at us, and what does the boss think of us, and you know, we got to get our tax return in, or we need the oil change on our car. You know, I mean, we think that's what it's about, but so sometimes it's a little disoriented, especially now. I think everybody here has a one way or another has what in AA they call the religious gene, you know, a sense of developing a myth, a personal myth, whether we know it or not. I mean, I see personal myths growing in each one of us here, you know, and that's the aspect of doing this work. So anyway, well, tomorrow I will try to get the black books out to everybody. I can get the Kindle version out immediately, but then Louis LaFontaine likes to have the page numbers on it. So I'm going to take 7 volumes and, scan them. So anyway, so I'll see you guys all next Wednesday, whoever shows up. So we'll see you then. Thank you, especially Roy and everybody. So we'll see you next time. Bye.